My beloved child, listen closely, because what you are about to hear is not random, not accidental, and certainly not late. This message has been hovering over your life for longer than you realize. The heavens have been watching quietly while you walk through confusion, delays, and strange resistance. But now, the veil is lifting. Archangel Michael steps forward in authority to reveal what was hidden, what was whispered in darkness, and what was never meant for your eyes. Until now, there was a plan working behind the scenes. It was subtle. It was layered. It was disguised as normal. The one who crafted it never expected you to notice the signs. They assumed you were too tired, too distracted, too broken to see clearly. But they were wrong. You were never blind, only waiting for the right moment of revelation. And that moment is now. Hear this clearly. What was meant to confuse you is about to expose itself. What was designed to drain you is losing its grip. There has been a hidden agenda circling your home, your peace, and even your future decisions. It crept in quietly, through words, through influence, through emotional pressure. But light has a way of interrupting darkness without asking permission. Archangel Michael speaks with a sword of truth, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. He says the enemy underestimated your discernment. They misjudged your connection with Jesus. They believed you would accept delays as destiny and oppression as normal life. But something in you refused to settle. Even when you could not explain it, your spirit sensed that something was off. This is the revelation. The hidden plan was never stronger than your covering. It relied on secrecy. It depended on your silence. It thrived on you doubting your instincts. But the moment you began to question what felt wrong, the plan started to crack. What was concealed is now surfacing because heaven has authorized exposure. Jesus says, act now. Not in fear, not in panic, but in obedience. This is not about running away. It is about standing correctly. There are conversations you must no longer ignore. There are patterns you must stop excusing. There are spiritual boundaries you must reinforce. Delay hath been the enemy's greatest weapon, but urgency is heaven's response. Do not dismiss the strange nudges you've been feeling lately. A sudden urge to pray. A discomfort in familiar environments. A sense that someone's words do not match their intentions. These are not coincidences. These are alerts. You are being repositioned before the full exposure happens. Archangel Michael reveals that the one who tried to manipulate outcomes never expected you to see through the mask. They assumed their influence was invisible. But light exposes effortlessly. What is coming to the surface will shock them more than it shocks you. Why? Because you were prepared for this moment, even if you didn't know it consciously. Jesus is not warning you to scare you. He is calling you to alignment. There is a narrow window where obedience matters more than comfort. Acting now means choosing truth over convenience. It means trusting divine instruction over human explanation. It means stepping back from anything that clouds your peace, even if it once felt familiar. Understand this. Exposure is not destruction. It is deliverance. When hidden plans are revealed, their power collapses. The enemy loses authority the moment light enters the room. And you, beloved, are not meant to fight blindly. You are meant to see clearly and move wisely. This message found you because your life is shifting. The atmosphere around you is changing. What once felt heavy will soon feel lighter, not because the battle vanished, but because you finally see where it was coming from. Awareness is your first victory. Stay alert. Stay grounded. Stay connected to Jesus. What unfolds next will confirm everything your spirit has been sensing. And as this revelation continues to unfold, you will realize that this moment, right now, was never meant to be ignored. The exposure has begun. The truth is surfacing, and heaven is standing with you as you take your next step. My precious one, as this message continues, the atmosphere around you is being recalibrated. What you felt earlier was not imagination. It was discernment activating. Archangel Michael now draws your attention to the subtle shifts that have already begun, the quiet confirmations that are lining up in your daily life. You may have noticed people revealing their true intentions without trying. Situations that once felt confusing are suddenly making sense. This is not coincidence. This is exposure in motion. There was a season when you blamed yourself for what felt off. You replayed conversations. You questioned your reactions. You wondered if you were overthinking. But hear this clearly. Clarity is replacing confusion because truth is now permitted to speak louder than manipulation. The hidden plan depended on you staying unsure. Once certainty enters, deception loses oxygen. Archangel Michael speaks of a spiritual miscalculation made against you. The one who tried to interfere assumed you would stay silent, spiritually passive, and emotionally compliant. They underestimated the authority resting on your life. They did not expect you to grow stronger through pressure. They did not expect Jesus to awaken your discernment at the exact right time. Now Jesus says something crucial. Do not rush emotionally, but do not delay spiritually. Acting now does not mean confronting everyone or announcing what you know. Wisdom moves quietly. Strength does not always shout. There are steps being revealed to you internally, boundaries to establish, access to restrict, habits to release. These steps may seem small, but they carry enormous spiritual weight. You are being asked to trust what you sense, even if others do not understand it yet. Heaven is not asking for explanation. It is asking for obedience. When you move in alignment, the exposure will complete itself without you forcing anything. What was hidden will surface naturally, because truth always rises when resistance is removed. Archangel Michael shows that some of what was planned against you has already failed. Delays were meant to frustrate you, but they actually protected you. Certain doors did not open because they would have led you directly into the trap. What felt like rejection was divine redirection. What felt like stagnation was divine shielding. Jesus says this is why timing matters now. You are no longer in the phase of endurance. You are in the phase of positioning. Where you stand, what you tolerate, and who you listen to will determine how smoothly the next shift unfolds. Do not minimize the importance of small choices in this window. As this message resonates with you, understand that many others are being awakened through the same revelation. That is why this word must travel. If this is confirming something your spirit already knew, take a moment to strengthen this assignment. Like this message so it reaches those who are still questioning their discernment. Share it with someone who needs clarity right now. Leave a comment declaring that you choose truth over confusion. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel and join the family that walks in revelation and protection together. Your engagement is not just support. It is participation in spreading light. There is also a reason you are still listening. The enemy often retreats quietly when exposed, but Jesus wants you to stay alert, not anxious. Pay attention to patterns, not just events. Watch consistency, not promises. What is real will remain steady. What is false will eventually contradict itself. You do not need to chase truth. Truth will meet you where you are. Archangel Michael emphasizes that your spiritual authority is increasing. This is why resistance tried to intensify before this moment. Pressure of him precedes promotion. Confusion often precedes clarity. If you felt unusually tired, distracted, or emotionally heavy before this revelation, it was because something was fighting to keep you from seeing. Now that you see, peace will begin to return in layers. Not everything will resolve overnight, but you will no longer feel lost. Direction is being restored. Confidence will follow. And soon, confirmation will arrive through events you did not orchestrate. Hold on, because what unfolds next connects directly to your safety, your home, and the decisions ahead. What is about to be revealed will make everything you've experienced up to this point make sense in a way you never expected. Beloved soul, something sacred is unfolding now, and it requires your full attention. This is the moment where what was invisible begins to cast a shadow you can finally see. Archangel Michael steps closer, not in warning alone, but in protection, because the exposure taking place is not just informational, it is positional. Heaven is repositioning you away from danger and toward clarity. There has been activity around your life that did not begin yesterday. It was seated quietly, layered patiently, and sustained through assumption. The assumption was that you would remain unaware, that you would keep explaining away discomfort, that you would normalize spiritual tension. But Jesus says the season of normalization is over. Discernment has been activated, and once activated, it cannot be reversed. Archangel Michael reveals that the hidden plan relied heavily on access to your emotions, access to your trust, access to your environment. This is why certain people felt unusually close, unusually persuasive, or unusually involved in your decisions. It was not accidental. Influence was being tested. Boundaries were being studied. But now, access is being revoked. You may notice a sudden emotional distance forming. Conversations may feel different. Familiar energy may feel unfamiliar. This is not loss. It is separation for preservation. Jesus never removes without replacing. What leaves now creates space for peace, protection, and truth to enter fully. There is also something else being revealed. The one who thought they were hidden is already being exposed in ways they cannot control. Words are slitting. Patterns are breaking. Their confidence is shaking because secrecy was their strength. Once light touches a hidden structure, it collapses from within. Jesus says, do not intervene prematurely. This exposure is divinely timed. If you try to rush it, you disrupt the lesson meant for all involved. Let truth speak for itself. Let consistency reveal character. Let silence do the work where confrontation once felt necessary. Heaven is handling what you were never meant to fight alone. Archangel Michael stands guard over your home and your decisions now. This is why your instincts feel sharper. This is why restlessness is being replaced with alert peace. You are not being called to fear, you are being called to awareness. Awareness is not heavy when it is covered by faith. Understand this deeply. The plan failed the moment you began listening to God instead of noise. The moment you paused instead of reacting. The moment you questioned instead of complying. Small spiritual acts dismantle large hidden agendas. Jesus says what is coming next will confirm everything you have sensed. There will be no confusion in the confirmation. It will be clear. It will be undeniable. And when it happens, you will realize that heaven was not late. It was precise. Before this message moves forward, receive this prophetic activation. Type "I walk in truth" in the comments if this revelation is resonating with your spirit. Blessing code 314 has now been released over your discernment and protection. This is the moment where light spreads beyond one life. As this revelation exposes what was hidden, your obedience can help others escape darkness before it touches them. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal found in the description, you are placing oil into a lamp that guides lost souls home. The Lord is saying right now, what you release will return as protection multiplied. I am inviting you personally to respond, not later, but now, as an act of alignment. This is not support, it is seed in holy ground. Let your giving become a shield for someone who cannot yet see. Obey the stirring and act now. My beloved one, now that the exposure has begun, a deeper layer of truth is being unveiled. This is the stage where understanding settles into your spirit, not as shock, but as steady knowing. Archangel Michael stands firm beside you, not with urgency now, but with assurance. What you are stepping into is not chaos. It is order being restored. You may feel a strange calm mixed with alertness. That is not contradiction. That is spiritual readiness. When danger is no longer hidden, fear loses its power. The enemy thrives in ambiguity, but clarity dismantles intimidation. Jesus says you are no longer reacting. You are discerning. And discernment is authority in motion. There were moments in the past when you felt spiritually off balance, as if something was draining you without explanation. Those moments were signals, not weaknesses. Something was feeding on distraction, confusion, and emotional fatigue. But now that its source has been revealed, its influence is diminishing rapidly. What once felt heavy will begin to feel irrelevant. Archangel Michael reveals that the hidden plan was never designed to destroy you outright. It was meant to slow you down, to keep you questioning yourself, to make you doubt your spiritual footing. Subtle interference is often more dangerous than open attack. But subtlety fails when awareness rises. Jesus speaks gently, but firmly now. You are entering a season where peace must be protected intentionally. Not everything deserves your response. Not every explanation deserves your energy. Silence will become one of your strongest tools. When you stop feeding confusion with attention, it starves on its own. You may notice that certain people seem unsettled around you now. Their tone may shift. Their interest may fade. Your behavior may become inconsistent. This is not your imagination. When light enters, those who preferred shadow become uncomfortable. This is not a sign to chase clarity from them. It is confirmation that your discernment is accurate. Archangel Michael emphasizes that your home is under special protection during this phase. Pay attention to what you allow into your space. Conversations, media, emotions, even prolonged stress. Peace is not passive, it is cultivated. As you guard your environment, clarity will deepen without effort. Jesus reminds you that obedience is often quiet. You do not need validation from others to know you are moving correctly. Heaven validates alignment internally before it manifests externally. Trust the calm that follows obedience. That calm is not emptiness, it is safety. There is also a release happening within you. Old guilt that was never yours is lifting. Responsibility that never belonged to you is dissolving. You were not meant to carry the weight of someone else's intentions. Once exposure occurs, misplaced burdens return to their rightful owners. Archangel Michael shows that the coming days will bring small but undeniable confirmations. A conversation overheard. A truth revealed unintentionally. A decision made without consulting you. These moments are not meant to upset you. They are meant to reassure you that what was hidden can no longer remain so. Jesus says, do not revisit what has already been revealed. Curiosity can reopen doors that discernment already closed. Trust that what you know is enough to move forward wisely. You do not need every detail to be protected. You only need alignment. As this phase continues, strength will replace vigilance. What feels like effort now will soon feel natural. Discernment matures into confidence when exercised correctly. And confidence does not fear exposure, it welcomes it. Archangel Michael stands watch as you transition from awareness into stability. This is where many falter, by overanalyzing what has already been resolved. But you are being called to rest in clarity, not wrestle with it. Peace is your confirmation. The next unfolding will not come through noise or confrontation. It will come through quiet shifts that favor you unexpectedly. Yours will close without struggle. Distance will form without conflict. Protection will operate without announcement. Remain grounded. Remain prayerful. Remain observant without being suspicious. There is a difference. You are not being trained to fear people. You are being trained to trust God. And as this revelation continues to deepen, you will realize that the most powerful protection was never exposure alone. It was the wisdom to move differently once you saw the truth. My cherished one, as this revelation settles deeper, a quieter but stronger transformation is taking place within you. This is the stage where truth stops feeling like information and begins to feel like alignment. Archangel Michael is not drawing attention to danger anymore. He is guiding you into stability. What once demanded vigilance will now require wisdom, because the battle is shifting from exposure to establishment. You may notice that your reactions are changing. Things that once triggered anxiety now barely disturb your peace. Situations that would have pulled you into explanation or defense no longer feel worth your energy. This is not numbness. This is discernment maturing. Jesus says when clarity is complete, emotional chaos loses its invitation. There is a reason this phase feels slower and quieter. Heaven is sealing what was revealed. Exposure without grounding can create instability, but grounding transforms revelation into protection. You are being taught how to live beyond survival mode. The season of constantly bracing yourself is ending. Archangel Michael reveals that the enemy's influence weakens dramatically when you stop revisiting the past. Reflection becomes dangerous only when it turns into rumination. You are not meant to analyze what has already been uncovered. You are meant to move forward with understanding, not suspicion. You may feel an urge to explain yourself to certain people, to justify distance, to clarify why you are no longer available in the same way. But Jesus says explanation is not required when boundaries are guided by truth. Those who respect you will adjust. Those who benefited from confusion will resist. Their reaction is not your responsibility. This is also a season of internal recalibration. Your priorities are shifting. Your tolerance is lowering. Your standards are rising. You are becoming more selective with your time, your words, and your emotional investments. This is not isolation. It is refinement. What you protect determines what you sustain. Archangel Michael shows that peace is no longer fragile for you. Earlier, it felt like something you had to constantly defend. And now, peace is becoming your default state. Disturbances will be noticeable immediately, not because you are sensitive, but because clarity sharpens contrast. You will know quickly when something does not belong. Jesus reminds you that authority does not always announce itself. Often, it expresses itself through calm decisions, quiet confidence, and firm boundaries that do not need explanation. You are learning to move without permission from people who no longer have influence over your direction. There may be moments when you feel a strange sadness, not from loss, but from realization. Realization that some connections were built on misunderstanding. Realization that some trust was misplaced. Allow that grief to pass without judgment. It is part of closure. Closure is not bitterness, It is clarity completing its work. Archangel Michael emphasizes that this phase is preparing you for what comes next. Stability is required before expansion. If the exposure had happened later, it could have disrupted what you are about to step into. Heaven protected your future by revealing truth now. Jesus says you are no longer walking blindly into relationships, environments, or commitments. You are entering them with eyes open and spirit alert. This does not make you guarded. It makes you wise. Wisdom invites peace instead of drama. Pay attention to how rest begins to return. Sleep may deepen. Thoughts may slow. Decisions may feel easier. These are signs that spiritual tension is lifting. When hidden resistance leaves, the body often responds before the mind understands why. Archangel Michael stands watch as you integrate this new way of moving. You are not meant to carry fear forward. Fear belongs to the season of uncertainty. Confidence belongs to the season of clarity. Choose confidence deliberately. You may also notice new ideas forming, new desires surfacing, new direction becoming appealing. This is not random. When confusion exits, purpose has room to speak. Do not rush these new stirrings. Let them develop naturally. Alignment grows best without pressure. Jesus says the foundation is being strengthened now so that what comes next will not shake you. You are being positioned to receive without suspicion and to trust without naivety. That balance is rare, and it is being cultivated intentionally within you. As this part of the journey settles, understand that you are no longer defined by what tried to interfere with your path. You are defined by how clearly you now see, how calmly you now move, and how firmly you now stand. What unfolds next will not require defense. It will require readiness, and readiness is already forming within you. My beloved child, this phase marks a turning point where awareness becomes action, not outwardly, but inwardly first. Archangel Michael now shifts your focus from what was revealed to how you carry yourself after revelation. This is important, because what you do with truth determines how much authority it produces in your life. Truth that is seen but not integrated can still leave room for instability. But truth that is embraced becomes armor. You may sense a strengthening in your spirit that feels different from before. Earlier, strength came from endurance. And now, it comes from clarity. You are no longer pushing through confusion. You are walking with understanding. Jesus says this is the difference between surviving and reigning. Survival reacts. Authority responds. There is something significant happening in your discernment. You are beginning to recognize patterns faster. You no longer need repeated proof to trust your inner warning. One moment, one sentence, one shift in tone is enough for you to know how to adjust. This is not judgmental, it is protective. Heaven is refining your perception so you do not waste energy where it is no longer required. Archangel Michael reveals that the enemy's last attempt often comes through distraction rather than deception. When exposure fails, diversion is tried. You may suddenly feel pulled toward unnecessary drama, old conversations, or revisiting situations that God already resolved. Jesus says resist the urge to look back. Forward vision keeps you aligned. You are being trained to move deliberately now. Every decision, no matter how small, carries weight in this season. Where you spend your time, what you listen to, what you entertain mentally, all of it contributes to either strengthening your peace or weakening it. This is not pressure, it is stewardship. Notice how your tolerance for noise has decreased. Chaos feels louder than before. Shallow conversations feel draining. This is because your spirit has tasted clarity, and it no longer settles for confusion disguised as connection. Archangel Michael says this is healthy separation, not isolation. Jesus reminds you that you do not need to announce your growth. Silence often speaks louder than explanation. When you stop engaging with what once consumed you, people notice without you saying a word. This is how authority is recognized, through consistency, not confrontation. There may be moments when you feel tempted to test people, to see if they have truly changed or if your discernment is accurate. But Jesus says discernment is not a test you administer. It is a signal you obey. Trust what has already been shown. Reopening doors for confirmation can undo the peace you've gained. Archangel Michael also speaks about discipline in this phase. Discipline not as restriction, but as devotion. Devotion to peace. Devotion to clarity. Devotion to spiritual cleanliness. What you protect consistently will protect you in return. As this message reaches you, understand that many others are also walking through similar awakenings. This is why your engagement matters. When you like this message, it helps push truth into spaces where confusion still rules. When you share it, you become a messenger of clarity. When you comment, you declare alignment publicly. And when you subscribe and join this channel's community, you stay connected to words that strengthen discernment and peace. Do not underestimate how your simple actions amplify this assignment. You may feel a subtle excitement building beneath the calm. That is anticipation, not anxiety. Jesus says anticipation is faith leaning forward. Something new is approaching, but it requires the stability you are building now. If it had arrived earlier, it could have overwhelmed you. And now you are ready. Archangel Michael shows that your spiritual posture is changing. You are no longer defensive. You are observant. You are not suspicious. You are discerning. That balance is powerful. It allows you to stay open without being vulnerable to manipulation. There is also healing taking place in areas you did not even realize were wounded. Old disappointments are losing their emotional charge. Memories are becoming neutral instead of painful. This is a sign that truth has reached deep places. Healing often happens quietly when resistance is gone. Jesus says, do not rush what is unfolding. Timing matters. The next reveal will come when you no longer need reassurance to trust it. Until then, remain grounded. Remain prayerful. Remain consistent. Hold on, because what is about to unfold will connect directly to why all of this exposure had to happen before the next door opens. You will want to stay present for what comes next, because this is where purpose and protection intersect in a powerful way. My beloved one, you are now entering a stretch of the journey where understanding deepens without effort. This is not the phase of sharp alerts or intense realizations. This is the phase of quiet confirmation. Archangel Michael stands beside you not as a warrior now, but as a guardian, ensuring that what was revealed becomes fully rooted in your daily life. What you are experiencing is stabilization after awakening. You may notice that situations which once felt uncertain now feel predictable. Not because you are controlling outcomes, but because discernment has trained your perception. You recognize patterns before they fully form. You sense misalignment early, long before it becomes disruptive. Jesus says this is wisdom at work. Wisdom does not react late, it adjusts early. There is a noticeable shift in how you process information. You no longer internalize everything emotionally. You observe first, then decide what deserves your response. This is not emotional distance, it is emotional mastery. Earlier seasons required endurance. This season requires intention. You are learning that peace is not found by fixing everything but by choosing where your energy flows. Archangel Michael reveals that the exposure you experienced has already altered future outcomes. Paths that once seemed uncertain are quietly closing or rerouting without resistance. This is divine intervention happening gently. Heaven is removing obstacles without trauma because you are no longer meant to learn through chaos. Jesus speaks clearly now. This season is about trust without tension. You do not need constant signs to confirm that you are protected. Protection is now operating as a steady presence, not an emergency response. When danger was hidden, alerts were loud. And now that clarity exists, guidance becomes subtle. You may feel moments of reflection where you recognize how far you have come. Not just externally, but internally. The way you think has changed. The way you wait has changed. The way you choose has changed. This is growth that cannot be reversed. Once discernment matures, it becomes part of who you are. Archangel Michael emphasizes that not everyone will understand this version of you. Some will miss the accessibility you once offered. Some will feel confused by your calm boundaries. But Jesus says your assignment is not to be understood by all. It is to be aligned with God. Those meant to walk with you will adjust naturally. There is also a strengthening of intuition happening now. You may find yourself knowing when to speak and when to remain silent without overthinking it. Timing is becoming instinctive. This is not coincidence. This is the result of consistent alignment. When your spirit is settled, guidance flows easily. You may also notice that your prayers feel different. Less desperate, more confident, more conversational. This is because fear has lost its grip on your communication with God. Jesus delights in this shift. Faith that rests is stronger than faith that strains. Archangel Michael shows that certain delays you once questioned are now revealing their purpose. Had things moved faster, you might have carried unresolved confusion into new spaces. And now, you are stepping forward lighter, clearer, and more grounded. Preparation always precedes expansion. There may still be moments where old thoughts try to surface. Questions like, what if I was wrong? Or did I overreact? These are echoes, not warnings. Jesus says clarity does not argue loudly. It remains steady. Do not entertain doubts that arrive without evidence. Trust the peace that followed obedience. This phase also invites gratitude. Gratitude not just for what was revealed, but for what was prevented. Some outcomes you will never fully see because protection intercepted them early. Thank God for the dangers you were spared from, even if you do not know their full shape. Archangel Michael reminds you that awareness is not meant to harden you. It is meant to refine you. Keep your heart soft and your boundaries firm. That balance keeps you accessible to God without being vulnerable to manipulation. As this part of the journey continues, you may feel a gentle pull toward something new. A shift in focus. A renewed interest. A sense that something is preparing to emerge. Do not rush toward it yet. Allow it to form fully. Seeds grow best in stillness. Jesus says the next phase will require confidence without arrogance, openness without naivety, and faith without fear. Everything you have walked through so far has been training for this balance. Remain steady. Remain humble. Remain attentive. You are not waiting for something to happen anymore. You are being readied to receive what has already been arranged. What comes next will not shock you. It will feel right. It will feel timely. And it will confirm that this entire process, exposure, clarity, grounding, was not a detour, but a necessary path toward peace and purpose. My beloved child, you have arrived at a sacred threshold. This is not a moment of noise or urgency, but one of recognition. Archangel Michael now speaks with clarity that settles deep in your spirit, because what you are sensing is not anticipation alone. It is readiness. You are standing at the edge of a shift that was prepared long before you understood why exposure was necessary. Everything that was revealed earlier was not meant to make you cautious forever. It was meant to make you clean in your discernment, steady in your walk, and confident in your obedience. Jesus says you are no longer reacting to what is hidden. You are responding to what is aligned. A distinction changes how authority flows through your life. You may notice that certain desires are becoming clear while others are fading completely. This is not loss. This is refinement. When confusion leaves, purpose has room to breathe. What no longer fits will fall away naturally, without struggle, because clarity creates its own separation. Archangel Michael shows that you are being repositioned internally before anything shifts externally. This is important. External change without internal alignment creates instability. But internal alignment attracts the right outcomes effortlessly. Heaven always prepares the vessel before pouring the oil. You may feel moments of stillness that seem unusually deep. In those moments, your mind is quiet, your emotions are steady, and your spirit feels alert but calm. This is not emptiness. This is readiness. Jesus says stillness is often the final confirmation before movement. Here is also a growing sense of confidence that does not need to be announced. You are no longer seeking reassurance from people or circumstances. You trust what God has shown you. That trust is what qualifies you for the next assignment. Faith that depends on constant validation cannot sustain expansion. Archangel Michael emphasizes that your spiritual sight has matured. You can now sense alignment without needing signs, and detect misalignment without needing proof. This does not make you suspicious. It makes you discerning. Discernment is calm, patient, and precise. You may also notice that your prayers are becoming more declarative. You are not asking from fear anymore. You are speaking from understanding. Jesus delights in this shift because it means you are praying in agreement, not desperation. Agreement moves mountains quietly. This is also the phase where gratitude becomes a shield. Gratitude for what was revealed. Gratitude for what was prevented. Gratitude for what did not work out. When gratitude is present, bitterness cannot take root. And bitterness is often the enemy's last attempt to regain access. Archangel Michael stands guard as you move from preparation into participation. You are no longer just receiving instruction. You are embodying it. Your life is becoming a testimony without words. Others will notice your calm, your clarity, your boundaries, even if they do not understand their source. Jesus says the next steps will not require striving. They will require obedience. When the moment comes, you will know. There will be no confusion, no inner conflict. Peace will lead, and wisdom will follow. Before this message moves forward, receive this prophetic activation with full awareness. Type "I am aligned" in the comments if you feel this confirmation in your spirit. Blessing code 808 has now been released over your next steps in divine timing. As alignment replaces confusion, the light must continue to travel. When you support this mission through Super Thanks, channel membership, or PayPal in the description, you are helping truth reach souls who are still trapped in uncertainty. The Lord is declaring, "Those who keep my lamp burning will never walk in darkness." I am calling you now, not as a viewer, but as a vessel, to take part in this work. This is not giving, it is sowing into clarity. Let your seed become light for someone else today. Act now and release it. This alignment you are walking in will only deepen from here. What comes next will not pull you backward. It will draw you forward with peace, purpose, and precision. Heaven hath been preparing you carefully, and the path ahead is steady. Remain attentive. Remain humble. Remain obedient. The unfolding continues. My beloved one, now the atmosphere around you feels different because you are different. This is the phase where inner alignment begins to influence outer reality in subtle but undeniable ways. Archangel Michael stands watch not to warn you anymore, but to witness the shift that has already begun. You are no longer standing at the threshold. You have stepped onto new ground, and it is stable beneath your feet. You may notice that situations begin resolving themselves without your intervention. Conversations shift tone. Delays lift quietly. Resistance fades without explanation. This is not luck. This is authority working invisibly. Jesus says when alignment is complete, effort decreases. What once required constant prayer now flows through divine order. There is also a growing sense of emotional maturity settling within you. You are no longer easily provoked, nor are you easily persuaded. You listen more than you speak. You observe more than you react. This does not mean you care less. It means you see more. Discernment has taught you that not every issue is yours to carry. Archangel Michael reveals that some of the protection you are experiencing now is generational. What you resisted, what you refused to agree with, what you discerned in time, it did not just shield you. It interrupted cycles that would have continued beyond you. Jesus honors this obedience deeply. Quiet obedience often carries the loudest spiritual impact. You may feel moments where your past feels distant, almost like a story you once lived, but no longer inhabit. This is healing completing its work. When truth settles fully, old pain loses its emotional charge. Memories remain, but they no longer define you. You are no longer navigating life through wounds. You are navigating through wisdom. Archangel Michael emphasizes that your confidence now is rooted, not reactive. You do not need to prove discernment. You do not need to announce boundaries. You simply live them. And those who are aligned with your life will feel safe within them. Those who are not will drift naturally. Jesus says this is how peace sustains itself, through consistency, not confrontation. The more consistent you are with what you allow and what you decline, the less effort it takes to maintain clarity. Boundaries become habits. Discernment becomes instinct. There may be moments when you are tempted to re-engage with old situations out of curiosity or nostalgia. But Jesus gently reminds you that clarity does not require revisiting confusion. Growth does not need comparison. You are not called to measure how far you've come by looking back. Forward vision keeps momentum intact. Archangel Michael shows that the coming season will require discernment of opportunity, not danger. This is a new kind of attentiveness. Earlier, you were trained to recognize what was wrong. Now, you are being trained to recognize what is right for you. Not everything good is meant for you, and not every opportunity aligns with your assignment. You may notice new invitations, ideas, or possibilities emerging. Some will feel exciting but unsettled. Others will feel calm but significant. Jesus says peace is the indicator now, not urgency. What is from God will not rush you or pressure you. It will wait for your yes without manipulation. This is also a season of refinement in communication. You will find yourself speaking less but saying more. Your words will carry weight because they are no longer fueled by emotion, but by understanding. Silence will become a tool, not a defense. Listening will become discernment in action. Archangel Michael stands guard over your mind as clarity deepens. Thoughts that once lingered now pass quickly. Anxiety no longer finds space to settle. This is not because challenges are gone, but because fear no longer has authority. Jesus says when truth governs the mind, peace follows naturally. You are also learning to trust timing without frustration. Delays no longer feel like denial. Waiting no longer feels like punishment. You understand now that timing protects purpose. What arrives too early can damage what is meant to last. As this phase unfolds, you may feel a quiet gratitude for the exposure that once felt unsettling. Without it, you might have entered this new season carrying unseen weight. Now, you step forward lighter, clearer, and prepared. Archangel Michael reminds you that vigilance does not mean tension. You are not ungoy. You are grounded. You are not watchful out of fear, but aware out of wisdom. This balance keeps your heart soft and your path secure. Jesus says the foundation is now set. What comes next will build upon stability, not survival. Expansion is ahead, but it will feel natural, not overwhelming. You will recognize it not by noise, but by peace that deepens as you move forward. Remain attentive but at rest. Remain open but discerning. You are walking in a clarity that many seek but few sustain. And because you have allowed truth to do its full work within you, the path ahead is steady, protected, and purposeful. My beloved child, you are now walking in a level of clarity that changes how heaven responds to you. This is not the clarity that comes and goes. This is established understanding. Archangel Michael stands beside you as a witness, because what you carry now is not just awareness. It is authority that has been tested, refined, and proven through obedience. You may notice that your life feels quieter, but more powerful. Less dramatic, but more intentional. This is not stagnation. This is focus. Jesus says when distractions fall away, purpose speaks more clearly. You are no longer pulled in multiple directions. Your yes is intentional, and your no is peaceful. There is something important happening in how you make decisions. You are no longer deciding based on pressure, guilt, or urgency. You are deciding from peace. Peace has become your compass. If something disrupts it, you pause. If something aligns with it, you move forward calmly. This is spiritual maturity expressing itself in everyday life. Archangel Michael reveals that the enemy's influence over your thought life has significantly weakened. Thoughts that once spiraled now stop quickly. Fear no longer negotiates with you. It no longer lingers. This does not mean challenges will disappear, but it means they will not control you. Jesus says freedom is not the absence of challenges. It is the absence of fear governing your responses. You may also sense a growing boldness, not loud, not aggressive, but steady. You are less concerned with being misunderstood. You are more committed to being aligned. That shift alone has altered the spiritual atmosphere around you. People respond differently to you now, even if they cannot explain why. Archangel Michael emphasizes that your discernment is now protective not only for you, but for others connected to you. Your choices affect more than you realize. When you choose peace, you model it. When you choose boundaries, you normalize them. When you choose truth, you create a safe environment for others to do the same. This is also a season where responsibility increases quietly. Not responsibility that overwhelms, but responsibility that trusts you. Jesus entrusts more to those who handle clarity well. You are being trusted with influence, even if it does not look like influence yet. Influence often begins internally before it becomes visible externally. You may notice that certain conversations now feel unnecessary, not because they are wrong, but because they are unproductive. You are learning to value depth over noise, meaning over motion, alignment over approval. These shifts signal preparation for what comes next. As this word continues to resonate, This is a moment to actively strengthen the assignment connected to it. If this message is speaking to your spirit, take a second to like this video so it reaches others who are still searching for clarity. Share it with someone who needs confirmation right now. Comment with what this revelation is unlocking for you, because your testimony encourages others. And if you have not yet, subscribe to this channel and consider joining the membership so you remain connected to words that sharpen discernment and strengthen peace. Your engagement is part of how this message moves forward. Archangel Michael also reminds you not to underestimate consistency. What you practice daily shapes your future quietly. Small, aligned choices compound into stability that cannot be shaken. This is why you no longer need dramatic breakthroughs. You are building something sustainable. Jesus says, do not grow impatient with the pace. Speed is not the goal. Accuracy is. What is arriving next must meet you in stability, not restlessness. You are being positioned to receive without losing peace, to expand without losing grounding. There may be moments when you feel tempted to compare your journey with others, but comparison distorts gratitude. Your path required exposure because your assignment requires clarity. Others may not need the same preparation. Trust the way God trained you. Archangel Michael shows that the next opening will not come through struggle. It will come through alignment. Doors will open because you are ready, not because you force them. When readiness meets opportunity, movement feels natural. Before this message unfolds further, pause here internally. Notice how much has changed within you. Notice the calm. Notice the confidence. Notice the absence of fear. These are not small things. These are markers of transformation. Hold on, because what comes next connects directly to why Jesus emphasized acting now earlier. The urgency was never about panic. It was about preparation. And now, you are prepared for what is about to be revealed. My beloved one, you are now standing in a place of quiet authority where heaven trusts your posture. This is no longer about learning to discern or practicing restraint. This is about living from a settled center. Archangel Michael stands present, not to instruct or intervene, but to affirm that what was once a process has now become your nature. You may notice that you no longer feel the need to explain your choices to anyone. Silence feels complete, not awkward. Distance feels healthy, not lonely. This is a sign that your identity is no longer tied to reaction or validation. Jesus says when identity is anchored in truth, it no longer seeks permission to exist. There is a deepening of confidence happening now, but it is not the confidence that demands attention. It is the confidence that knows when to move and when to remain still. Earlier seasons trained you to endure pressure. This season trains you to steward peace. Peace is no longer a reward you chase. It is a responsibility you protect. Archangel Michael reveals that you are now operating beyond the reach of what once targeted you. Not because danger vanished, but because access was permanently closed. Certain influences no longer recognize how to reach you. Their usual entry points, emotion, confusion, guilt, no longer respond. This is not resistance. It is immunity formed through clarity. You may feel a stronger sense of self-trust than ever before. Decisions feel less complicated. You are no longer torn between options that conflict with your values. This is alignment expressing itself practically. Jesus says when the inner world is ordered, the outer world follows more easily. There is also a release happening from old expectations. Expectations you carried that were never yours. Roles you filled that drained you quietly. Obligations that were rooted in fear of disappointing others. These are falling away naturally now. You are not abandoning responsibility. you are shedding burdens that distorted it. Archangel Michael emphasizes that what is forming now will not be disrupted easily. You are no longer vulnerable to sudden shifts or emotional swings. Stability has been built layer by layer, and it holds. Even when uncertainty arises, it no longer shakes your foundation. Jesus says storms reveal foundations, and yours have been reinforced intentionally. You may notice that your discernment now works without effort. You sense alignment quickly. You recognize dissonance without anxiety. This does not make you rigid. It makes you free. Freedom is knowing you can say no without guilt, and yes without fear. This phase also brings clarity about what you are not meant to pursue. Some goals you once chased now feel irrelevant. Some ambitions no longer carry energy. This is not failure. This is focus. Purpose refines desire, but do not align quietly loses its appeal. Archangel Michael shows that your presence now carries peace into spaces without you trying. Others may feel calmer around you. Conversations may soften. Tension may dissolve. This is not because you are fixing anything, but because alignment creates atmosphere. Jesus says peace is contagious when it is authentic. There may still be moments when the mind tries to revisit old narratives. Thoughts like, what if I had acted sooner? Or what if I misunderstood? But these thoughts no longer take root. They pass through without attachment. This is healing completed. When healing is complete, memory loses authority. You are also being trained to recognize when a season is complete. You no longer cling to what has expired. You release with gratitude, not regret. This keeps your hands open for what is next. Closed hands cannot receive. Archangel Michael reminds you that the next unfolding will require presence, not preparation. Preparation has already been done. What comes next will meet you where you are, not where you used to be. This is why nothing feels rushed. Timing is now aligned. Jesus says, trust the simplicity of this season. Simplicity is not lack. It is clarity without clutter. When life feels uncomplicated, it means unnecessary weight hath been removed. Guard this simplicity carefully. It is the environment where purpose thrives. As this phase settles, you may feel a quiet sense of anticipation again, but different from before. Not anxious, not urgent, just aware that something is approaching. This awareness does not disturb your peace. It coexists with it. That is how you know it is from God. Archangel Michael stands ready not for battle, but for transition. Transitions are sacred moments. They require attention, humility, and trust. You are not being asked to strive. You are being asked to stay aligned. Jesus says the final unfolding will not contradict anything you have learned. It will confirm it. Everything exposed, healed, and stabilized was preparation for the completion of this message. Remain steady. Remain attentive. What comes next will seal this journey in a way that brings closure, blessing, and forward momentum together. My beloved child, this is the moment of sealing. Not an ending born of closure alone, but a completion that releases you forward. What began as a warning has matured into wisdom. What started as exposure has become establishment. Archangel Michael now stands in still authority, not with a raised sword, but with assurance, because the work assigned to this season has been fulfilled. You are no longer the same person who first sensed something was wrong. You are no longer reacting to hidden plans or unseen resistance. You are standing in clarity that has been tested by time, silence, and obedience. Jesus says this clarity will remain with you, not as a memory, but as a way of life. What was revealed was not meant to trap you in vigilance. It was meant to free you into confidence. There is a deep peace settling now, one that does not depend on circumstances. This peace is the evidence that alignment has been completed. You no longer second-guess what God has shown you. You no longer need constant reassurance. Your spirit recognizes truth the way your eyes recognize light. Instinctively, effortlessly, Archangel Michael confirms that the danger you were warned about no longer has access. The plan that was hidden has lost relevance. Exposure dismantled it, wisdom replaced it, and obedience sealed the door behind it. This does not mean you will never face challenges again. It means this particular assignment hath been resolved. Jesus says something important now. You not carry this season forward as fear. Carry it forward as wisdom. Fear looks back constantly. Wisdom looks ahead calmly. You are not meant to relive what happened. You are meant to live from what you learn. You may notice that your future now feels open instead of uncertain. Not loud, not dramatic, just open. That openness is not emptiness. It is possibility aligned with peace. Heaven clears space before it introduces new purpose. You are standing in cleared space. Archangel Michael shows that what comes next will not announce itself with urgency. It will come naturally, fitting into the life you now carry. Because you are no longer unstable internally, what arrives will not destabilize you externally. This is divine order. Jesus reminds you that obedience brought you here. Quiet obedience. Unseen obedience. Obedience when you could not explain why you felt what you felt. That obedience mattered more than you know. It protected you when you did not even realize protection was needed. This final confirmation is for your heart. You did not imagine it. You did not overreact. You were discerning. And because you acted when prompted, heaven acted on your behalf. That partnership is now established. Before this message completes, receive this final prophetic activation. Type I receive the seal in the comments if this journey resonates with your spirit. Blessing code 1212 is now activated over your future, your peace, and your discernment. This revelation was not released for information alone, but for transformation. As God sealed clarity over your life, He is calling you to help seal freedom over others still trapped in confusion. When you sow through Super Thanks, channel membership, or PayPal found in the description, you are placing light into places where darkness still hides. The Lord is saying, "Those who guard my word, I will guard their future." I am speaking directly to you now. This is your moment to respond in obedience. Your giving is not a donation. It is a prophetic act. Release it now, and let heaven multiply it.